Solomon Kane, a skilled swordsman, wandered through the jungle and rivers, encountering many deserted villages. However, one village stood out. It was devastated, with scattered bones and grinning skulls, and no signs of famine or Arab slave raiders. Kane wondered why the slayers left the spoils behind, including war spears, shields, and cooking pots. He noticed that the thatch roofs of many huts were torn, as if something had sought entrance. A gigantic baobab tree caught his attention, with a skeleton impaled on a broken limb. Kane felt a sense of mystery and wondered how the remains got there. As he explored the village, he came across a strip of thin forest, sloping downward to a broad belt of savannas. Beyond that lay another narrow strip of woodlands, deepening into dense jungle. Kane had fled from cannibal country the day before, with fierce hunters hot on his trail. He knew they hadn't abandoned the chase, so he set out for the hills to the east, surveying the land for any signs of his pursuers. As he walked, he caught a glimpse of something that made his heart leap with horror. He came face to face with a grim stake, where a black man was bound. The man had been mutilated, and despite his ghastly condition, he was still alive. Kane spoke to him, and the man screamed, writhing in agony. Kane learned that the man had been bound to the stake for many moons, and inhuman things had worked their monstrous will upon him. The man mentioned a priest named Goro, who had bound him, and his brother, who had aided in the binding. Solomon Kane, an Englishman, tended to a wounded black man who had been brutally attacked. Despite Kane's efforts, the man died, screaming about the wings that would come again. Kane buried the body and sensed he was being stalked by savage warriors. He fled through the upland forest, pursued by the warriors, who seemed to be waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As night fell, Kane reached the foot of menacing hills, where he hoped to lose his pursuers. However, he encountered a cannibal, and they engaged in a fierce fight. Just as Kane gained the upper hand, a sudden rush of mighty wings swept the cannibal away, leaving Kane stunned and shaken. Kane found a juju stave and his blood-stained dirk, proof that the fight was real. He wondered if the hills were haunted by gigantic birds or something more sinister. With his pistols ready, Kane decided to sleep in a nearby grove, wary of cannibals, beasts of prey, and the mysterious wings. Solomon Kane, a skilled fighter, had a vivid dream about a strange, shadowy creature with yellow eyes. When he woke up, he felt a lingering sense of unease. After a refreshing night's sleep, he set out to explore the hills, driven by his determination to confront evil. As he climbed, he spotted a village in the distance. Suddenly, a bat-like monster attacked him, and he shot it down with his pistol. The creature was unlike anything he had ever seen, with a human-like face, wings, and sharp talons. Kane was baffled but undaunted. As he examined the creature, another winged monster appeared, attacking him. Kane fought back, using his dirk to defend himself. Despite being gravely injured, he managed to kill the creature, and they both plummeted to the ground. In a world of darkness, Solomon Kane, a landless wanderer, fought against gigantic winged demons in the black basaltic corridors of night. After 1,000 years, he escaped and found himself in a roomy hut in the last village of Baganda, where a fat, kindly native face bent over him. The fat man, Goro, and a tall, gaunt warrior, Kuroba, tended to Kane's wounds. Kane learned that he had been lying in delirium for many days and was amazed to find that no bones had been broken. He asked about Goro, the priest who bound men to stakes for devils to eat, and soon discovered that the villagers were trapped in a horror country of Akana, where winged men with dripping fangs and talons roamed free. The villagers had tried to escape, but the Akanas were too powerful, and the Bigandi were forced to live in the shadow of the nightmare. Kane, intrigued by the stories, asked questions and learned more about the ancient curse that rested upon the land. In Baganda, a plateau inhabited by the Bigandi tribe, Akanas, bat-like creatures ruled with terror. They had a strange sense of humor, enjoying human suffering. The Bigandi lived in fear, allowing the Akanas to snatch bobbies, girls, and youths for food. The Akanas were dying out, but their savagery increased, and they began to raid the Bigandi villages. The Bigandi were protected from cannibals by the Akanas, but as the Akanas dwindled, the cannibals threatened to take over. A great famine hit, and the Bigandi were forced to eat the pigs, angering the Akanas. The Akanas retaliated by eating the Bigandi, and life became a hell for the tribe. The lower Baganda village rose in revolt, killing an Akana, and the Akanas responded by destroying the village. The upper Baganda village lived in fear, offering human sacrifices to the Akanas to spare their lives. Cain, an Englishman, learned about the horrors from Guru, a priest, and realized the tribe was slowly being consumed by the monsters. In the land of Baganda, a mysterious tribe lived with a king and a language of their own. However, they were vanishing quickly, and no females or young had been seen in recent years. Guru, a local, observed that they would soon be extinct unless Solomon Kane, a Puritan, helped them. Kane was deep in thought, recalling an old legend about winged devils that came from the north and vanished in the jungle-haunted south. He realized that this myth was true and connected to an older legend about a chieftain named Enyasana, who fought these creatures with bows and arrows. Kane understood that Enyasana was actually Jason, who conquered the Harpies and drove them into Africa. This revelation opened up a realm of possibilities, making Kane wonder if other ancient myths were also true. Guru approached Kane, begging him to save them from the Akanas, offering to make him king if he possessed the power to defeat the creatures. Kane was hesitant, knowing he wasn't a god, but Guru believed in him. The villagers had seen Kane slay 2 Akanas with his pistols, and they trusted him to protect them. Kane agreed to stay in Baganda, but he knew his protection was limited, and the cannibals remained a threat. As Kane stayed in the village, the people began to regain their spirits, singing and dancing once more. However, Kane knew that his protection was futile if the winged fiends returned. He racked his brains for a plan, hoping that black magic would aid him, but Enlonga's ancient gift gave him no help. The germ of an idea began to form in his mind, involving a great trap, but he discarded it. One night, a horrific attack occurred, and people began dying horribly. Kane woke up to find Loga, a young boy, torn and drenched in blood, grasping his knees. The night was filled with fearful sounds, and Kane saw the winged monsters racing through the streets, tearing apart hut thatches to get at the victims. With a fierce roar, Kane bounded into the melee, firing at the creatures and fighting back with all his might. In the village of Baganda, a horrific massacre unfolded as demons attacked the people. Kane, a Puritan, fought valiantly but was consumed by rage and grief as he saw the people he had sworn to protect being slaughtered. He fought on, killing demons left and right, but ultimately the villagers were all killed, and the demons escaped with their captives. Kane was left alone, surrounded by death and destruction. He gathered his weapons and stumbled upon the severed head of Guru, the village leader, which had been placed above the hut door by the demons as a twisted joke. Overcome with anger and despair, Kane cursed the gods, devils, and all of existence. However, as he stood frozen, a plan began to form in his mind. He vowed to avenge the people of Baganda and set out to prepare for his revenge, working tirelessly to reinforce the walls and roof of Guru's hut, determined to make the demons pay for their brutal attack. Kane built a strong hut, binding bamboos with vines to protect himself from lions and Akanas harpy folk. He slaughtered pigs to starve the Akanas, who eventually flew close to him, searching for food. Kane then drove a buffalo to the hut, killing it and spreading its blood to lure the Akanas. They arrived, and Kane trapped them inside the hut. He set the hut on fire, burning the Akanas alive. As they screamed, Kane laughed with a cruel, brooding smile. Only one Akana escaped, but Kane shot it down. With the Akanas destroyed, Kane felt triumphant, knowing he had rid the land of evil creatures. In a distant future, darkness may recede, and the evil prince will be trapped forever. Until then, humans must bravely face their inner demons and outer threats. With God's help, they can still prevail. Solomon Kane, feeling the call of the mysterious hills and unknown lands beyond, prepared himself for the challenge. He adjusted his belt, gripped his staff, and set his face towards the east.